Hello and excuse me. Welcome to Nice and Blunt. It's Tuesday, August 12th, and we're 23 days away from the NFL season. So we're going to do some drafts today, and I think we're going to kind of do it under the lens of like safety. Like, especially in redraft, that'll be more of a focus as we get closer to the season. You want to make sure you don't draft the busts. So I'm going to be drafting with a bit more of like a floor in mind today. And with that in mind, let's go. Probably the best tournament that exemplifies this type of strategy, drafting for more of a safe team rather than gambling, would be the Eliminator, in my opinion. It's a pretty good advance rates. You have 50% every single week. So most of the time, you're not going to advance past like week 4. It's actually pretty difficult to do that. But if you can make it to week like 7, 8, 9, that's when you start to make some profit. And then from there, the prize pool, there's not that many other players against you. So if you can make it super late, you do have really good odds in the Eliminator. So I don't have a ton of these. I don't do them that often, but I want to get in some, and it is 84% filled. So let's hop into one tonight. It's a $10 entry. If you want to join me, go ahead and click that button right now in the Eliminator, and I will join in 3, 2, 1. Should be close to synced up. Sometimes these lobbies do take a little bit longer to fill. 6 spots left. If you would like one, you can claim one. And in the meantime, maybe we'll answer some questions. Maybe we'll talk about some other strategies. But Nav is in here with us. Nav Singh. The chat. There we go. Greg Roman on if Najee isn't back by week 1. There will be a rotation no matter what happens. The day of the running back taking every rep, it's kind of gone, the way of the prehistoric creatures. Is this bad news for Hampton? I don't think so. I don't think you expect Hampton to get 100% of the touches. The player who's going to move up would be Naheem Hines Miller, formerly known as Naheem Hines, been out of the league for a couple years now. Did suffer like he was on like a jet ski, and then I think he got in an accident and like broke his leg or something. Like he had a weird injury. Maybe it just tore his ACL, but a strange jet ski accident for Naheem Hines a few years ago. And he has been looking okay in the preseason, nothing special, but would be the next man up. I would expect him to get like, 20 to 25% of the snaps. Hampton's not going to get 100%, but I'm not going to panic just because Greg Roman is like, yeah, we're not going to give all the touches to Hampton. Those days are kind of over. They're still going to give him a lot. They're going to give him a lot. I'm not really worried about Hampton. Now, I don't know if the Chargers are going to make the playoffs anymore. That I'm not as confident in betting on. The AFC is very tough. Their division's really underrated. I think they're going to start 0-2, and it's going to be an uphill battle to get into the playoff picture. So, Chargers may be worse, mainly because of the Rashawn Slater injury, but the Najee situation, I don't think really moves the needle. I was already trusting Hampton a lot. I'm not fading Hampton. Draft begins in 5 seconds, so we have pick 3. We got a good spot here. And remember, we are in the Eliminator, so safety is kind of important. Oh, I remember I accidentally put in some rankings back in like early July, and I thought I was doing them in the regular tournaments, but instead I accidentally put them in the Eliminator ADP. So I have weird rankings as an option. I'm going to ignore those and just stick to ADP. Haven't updated those in a while, but I'm going to go Jahmyr Gibbs. Am I? Yeah, I'm going to go Jahmyr Gibbs. I do have him ranked higher, and I think there's slightly less bust potential than Saquon, just because of age. That's the only fucking reason. Just because he's 5 years younger. But I always like my team when I start off with Gibbs. So that's the first pick. There we go. The right size. And Saquon goes at 5. CeeDee Lamb goes at 4. In general, I feel like there's some teams that I'm just now starting to like really not buy into. And we're not really going to come across those teams early on in the ADP, but I've been like updating my win-loss picks, and like some of them are obvious. I don't want any New Orleans Saints. I don't want to deal with Spencer Rattler or Tyler Shuck. No effing chance. Like maybe Alvin Kamara is okay, but in general, I do not want to be dealing with the New Orleans Saints in fantasy this year. I also don't want to deal with Cleveland. Like maybe David Njoku is still a really good tight end. He has high upside, but I don't think he's a top 10 guy. He's been repeatedly injured, and they drafted Harold Fannin. I don't feel super confident in Njoku, but some high upside. And then Jerry Jeudy, I don't want to trust Joe Flacco or Shedeur Sanders. I also don't think Cedric Tillman is that much worse than Jerry Jeudy. And Jeudy was just so much better with Jameis Winston. He was really bad with any other quarterback. So I don't want to trust Jerry Jeudy. The running back situation is one of the worst situations you could ask for. Like Judkins, their second round pick, has not signed his contract and might get suspended the entire year. So you'd think Dylan Sampson's like a decent floor play, but in my opinion, he's just like Tyrone Tracy, where like even if he's the workhorse all season, the Browns aren't going to score that many touchdowns. It's not that valuable at the end of the day. And then he might lose his job if Judkins does come back. Same with Tracy if Scattaboo steals his job. I also don't want to really draft the Giants, but they have so many targets going to Malik Neighbors. Like, it's undeniable Neighbors is a workhorse. Last year, his target share was over 30%. Neighbors is a fine pick. Otherwise, I'll ignore the Giants, but they're probably not going to be as bad as last season. And then otherwise, there's like a few teams where there's really nothing to be that excited about. So if there's injuries that are looming, let's avoid those. I do think that's one reason to kind of maybe upgrade Drake London. In the Eliminator, I'm sure running back gets kind of pushed up a little bit. But I actually think London, with the Darnell Mooney injury, is a very safe proposition, especially at the start of the season. So if I could have gotten him to pair with Jahmyr Gibbs or anywhere in the second round, I think he's a steal. With the Matthew Stafford injury, Puka's not looking as safe as of today, and Jefferson is also a bit of a gamble. But we just saw Josh Allen get taken. I'm going to take the safety net of the elite quarterback. I'm going to take Lamar Jackson. His bye is in week 7. I'd prefer if it was a bit later, but we'll draft another quarterback and we'll pay attention to week 7. I think we can kind of risk some of the wide receiver volume. Not take him at the top of this draft. Like London fell to 19 behind Bucky Irving, Chase Brown, Jonathan Taylor. That normally doesn't happen. So the trends, I think, are that running back is going to dry up kind of quickly, especially in this format. And that means quarterbacks, tight ends, running backs are pushed up. And I think we can get good depth at wide receiver later. So it's very tempting to take Trey McBride. I'll be honest with you. McBride here doesn't feel bad, but I kind of want to take Hampton. And that is what I'm going to do. Oh, wow. I almost forgot that I've got this weird ranking that I haven't updated in 2 months. So let's go with Omarion Hampton. I do not want to get boxed out of running back. And I don't think in this type of format, we're going to see a guy like Travion Henderson back around at 46. Running back gets steamed up. So he's been already moving up the board. I've seen him go in like the early 4th round already. So I'm expecting Travion to probably be off the board in the next 10 picks. Not in time for our next pick. But it was probably between Hampton and Trey McBride. I'll take Hampton, though. Which further goes back to Nav's question earlier on. I don't think there's bad enough news with Hampton to really panic. Cobra says Jackson and Allen, only 2 teams off in week 7. Good to know. So that means every quarterback is available to me. And since we got some time, maybe we take a peek at that right now. Here is the NFL schedule, and I'm going to focus on week 7. These are the week 7 matchups in the NFL. We have Thursday, Pittsburgh at Cincinnati. Maybe want to avoid that matchup. I'm not going to reach on Burrow. Rams at Jacksonville. That game is in London. That'll be interesting. Saints and Chicago. Maybe Caleb Williams will be interesting, but Dolphins and Cleveland, that's going to be a gross game. No thank you with either of them. Patriots and Titans. Drake May looks like a good option there. Mike Vrabel revenge game. That should be good. Chiefs hosting the Raiders. Mahomes, not a terrible option. Vikings hosting the Eagles. Maybe Jalen Hurts, but probably not. Jets hosting Carolina. I'll probably skip that one. Denver and the Giants. So Bo Nix, an interesting pickup. Herbert versus the Colts. Herbert's not bad. And then otherwise, I do like Jordan Love at the Cardinals. Penix at the Niners. Jordan Love at Arizona, probably one of the more tempting options. That's a good matchup. I do not fear the Cardinals defense at all. Anyways, we're on the clock in one pick here. So let's take a look at who's going to be available. There was a big run on running back. We were correct in assuming that Henderson would not make it back. So with some good depth at running back already, I'm not going to press my luck there. But given the Rashee Rice suspension early in the season, I really trust Xavier Worthy. I'm going to go with Worthy. Really high upside, unquestioned target share. We still have not gotten the exact time frame of the Rashee Rice suspension, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be in the first few weeks of the season. I don't think we're going to get to week 1 and Rashee Rice is not suspended. So I could be wrong, but I'll take Xavier Worthy. We need to advance early in the season and then try and figure it out later on. But I will say Calvin Ridley is very tempting. So is Cortland Sutton. But I think I'm going to go Calvin Ridley. I know for a fact there's no one that can overtake him in Tennessee. There's no chance that happens. In Denver, there is a minor chance that Ingram does really like mess with his production. Minor chance. I'll go Ridley. But they're both 30 years old. Both the top target in their offense, but Ridley probably has a safer target share. So while I did ignore receiver in the first 3 rounds, I don't want to get really boxed out of that position before it, while it's still valuable, I really want some receivers on this team. So we go Xavier Worthy, Calvin Ridley. But I could have easily taken J-Mo, Sutton, or Devontae Smith as well. Not bad. Chase Brown or JT? I'll go Chase Brown. Jonathan Taylor does not catch passes. If he does, it's like rarely more than 1 a game. With Chase Brown, you're probably going to get like 5 receptions a game this season. Just barely. I'll go Chase Brown. But after I take Ridley, we see RJ Harvey, Joe Burrow, J-Mo, Sutton, Devontae Smith, DeAndre Swift, Waddle, Pollard. Interesting pick. DK Metcalf, Rashee Rice, and Travis Hunter with Isaiah Pacheco off at 63. So I was right in getting ahead at running back, but getting to the point where I'm not really sure if it's worth dipping back in at this price. But it only gets worse from here. At least we got 2 reliable reliable options. But I will say TJ Hawkinson is more interesting in this format as well. We'd kind of be reaching on him if we took him here. His ADP is 86. My next two picks are 70 and 75. So I don't know if I'll go that far. But Debo off the board. I was definitely interested in Debo here. I'm not going to go Olave. Like I mentioned, I don't want to invest in New Orleans. I'm going to take Egbuka. Godwin's hurt at the beginning of the season. I trust Egbuka, and it'll be more likely to get most of his points at the beginning of the season. That's when we need to avoid the landmines, keep the floor as high as possible. Like in week 1, we need to be top 6. We got to be pretty good. After that, we just need to beat out one other person. So as long as we can get some money returned on this team, it's not bad. And so far, none of the bye weeks are before week 7. Lamar is our earliest bye, so I'm not that worried about it. But kind of interested in TJ Hawkinson, but I go TJ Hawkinson. I want every position to be relatively viable. And especially to start the year when Addison is suspended, I do think Hawkinson has a very safe floor. There's also the hamstring looming with Justin Jefferson. That could be a factor. I would expect in the first 5 games of the year before their bye week that TJ Hawkinson is like a go-to target for JJ McCarthy. Rookies tend to like the tight end, and Jefferson's probably going to be deeper down the field. The check down, I think, will be there for TJ Hawkinson. Shamrock saying yo-yo. Welcome in, Shamrock. Seth also asking, CMC or Brian Thomas Jr.? The only reason I'm leaning BTJ is because I think I'm going to get Chase Brown in the second, so I don't want to go double running back. Also, the rest of my draft positions land near solid running backs. Shamrock, we are in the eliminator, but Seth, I think based on your situation, if it's a full PPR league and you like are heavily planning to go Chase Brown in round 2, then I'd like to have an elite wide receiver, and I'd probably consider Brian Thomas Jr. But if you really want to go big, you take Christian McCaffrey. If you're swinging for the fence, you take Christian McCaffrey. If you're a bit scared, then you go with the safe pick. I'll probably gamble on Christian McCaffrey. But I understand not wanting to take CMC this season. I think he'll be okay, though. I'll probably still go Christian McCaffrey over Brian Thomas. I also wouldn't be afraid of the double running back start. Like, if you start off Christian McCaffrey and Chase Brown, that's still really good. But I think I'd rather go Christian McCaffrey and, like, Drake London than Brian Thomas Jr. and Chase Brown. I would feel a little bit better with the CMC Drake London combo as opposed to the BTJ Chase Brown combo. But coming back around, I was going to say running backs just completely disappeared. There's only receivers on the board. I might go ETN here. Because in the beginning of the season, they're going to give ETN a shot. I'm really worried that he loses his job, like, over time. But in the eliminator, I don't think he's at risk of losing his job when we need points the most. Like, it's so critical just to make it past the first few weeks in this tournament. I kind of don't really care about late season upside. So I think I'm going to go with ETN here because running back is like pretty gross. Does have a week 8 bye, same as Gibbs, but In this format, I'm willing to tolerate it. In general, I'm not drafting ETN very often, though. Usually, I don't like to take him, but I'll do it here. And then at wide receiver, I definitely want to get back in because it's drying up quickly. But with an injury to Khalil Shakir, he's expected back for week 1, but it's not a guarantee. I'm not trying to do that. Cooper Kupp is kind of tempting, but honestly, I rank Jaden Higgins well above everyone else. And I don't think his role is going to be lacking in week 1, especially with the injury to Joe Mixon. I think they're going to be really leaning on the pass early and often in Houston. So I think Jaden Higgins is also a bit skewed towards the beginning of the season. I like him at a good value in general. Regardless, he's my highest ranked receiver here. So I'll go Jaden Higgins. I like the Texans passing game. And we've seen Stroud keep multiple receivers viable very consistently in the last 2 seasons. 2 years ago, it was Tank Dell alongside Nico Collins. They were both fucking studs. And then last year, Tank Dell got hurt and he was pretty terrible. But up until Diggs got injured, Diggs was top 20 at the position in points per game. Diggs was averaging over 12 fantasy points per week. I think Jaden Higgins has that type of upside. I rank him top 40. So I think he's a steal. I think he should be going around Jaden Reed, Jacoby Myers, Juwan Jennings. I really do. Albie's in here with us. Welcome in, Albie. Fancy Dog, thank you for liking the stream. And Shamrock asking, do you think Trey Harris will have a role with Keenan Allen there? Not a big one. He'll have some role. I think sometimes the touchdowns will pivot between Quentin Johnston and Trey Harris. And he's a second-round pick. They want to get him involved. They want to know what they have in Trey Harris. However, I don't think he is going to necessarily overtake Quentin Johnston. I think he's their 4th receiver. And even if he does beat out QJ, he's not really going to beat out Keenan. So the target share is pretty crowded. If you're not getting Ladd, the only other one I want with like some level of consistency is probably Keenan Allen. But in your regular redraft league, I don't think he's going to move the needle very much. Unless somebody gets hurt. If someone gets hurt, then yeah, he'll be pretty good. But with Keenan there, I'm not high on Trey Harris anymore. I would much rather draft Keenan Allen straight up above Trey Harris. Anyways, let's take a look at the roster, remind us of how we're looking, maybe make some plans for our next pick. We have Lamar, Jahmyr Gibbs, Omarion Hampton, Travis Etienne, Xavier Worthy, Calvin Ridley, Emeka Egbuka, Jaden Higgins, and TJ Hawkinson. So I do think we're a little extra skewed towards the beginning of the season, but we can still be viable all year long. But at this point, I might be willing to take some other types of picks that maybe I think might pop later in the year. Tucker Kraft goes. I was honestly thinking about taking Tucker Kraft right there. But tight end is drying up. I'm glad we have TJ Hawkinson. But I think I'm going to go with Tank Bigsby. That like really covers my ass with the Travis Etienne pick. You know, like if he has a bad game, it's because Bigsby's going to pop off. So I don't always love to invest in like double Jags running backs, but here I think it's okay. However, I need to make sure that my last 2 picks at running back have a bye later than week 8. Week 8 is still a little bit early, and I now have 3 players at running back with a bye in week 8. But I don't think I have to force it at running back. Instead, I will go Jordan Love. I mentioned that's the week 7 matchup I want to be chasing with Lamar Jackson. He does have an early bye in week 5. That's not great, but with Lamar, we're really comfortable in the floor. With Lamar, it's really just the bye week that I have to worry about when I have Lamar Jackson. And earlier in the stream, we did take a look at the Week 7 schedule. Here it is on the screen. And the game I felt was worth highlighting that I'm really, really trying to chase after is this Packers at Cardinals game in the afternoon on Fox. In the afternoon time window in the Arizona Dome, I think Jordan Love's going to pop off. I don't trust the Cardinals defense at all. I think Jordan Love's going to have a really good game in that week. Week 7, Jordan Love at Arizona. A good backup to Lamar Jackson, in my opinion. Shamrock saying, am I buying the dip on Trey Harris? Not really. I'm mainly buying the dip on Quentin Johnston. I'd rather buy the dip on QJ than Trey Harris. But at some point, like if it's round 18, I guess I'll take Trey Harris. But in a previous draft, we were able to get Quentin Johnston in the 16th round. And that, I think, is undeniable value. That's really, really good. So, who knows? Maybe we can get that in this draft. But Keenan does go off the board here at 131 in the 11th round. And this is a very different type of board than we're used to seeing. Like the Eliminator is just like its own type of format. But it's round 11. We see a lot of quarterbacks come off the board. Normally, Goff is around this range. So is Jordan Love. So is J.J. McCarthy. But this is kind of high on Michael Penix. Pretty high on Bryce Young and Tua. And then maybe just a few picks high on C.J. Stroud. But Lawrence went pretty early in this draft in the 10th round. Justin Fields and Drake May went in the 8th round. So I do think taking Lamar at pick 22, late round 2, was a worthwhile decision. Like, I feel okay about my receiving core. It maybe not be like the most elite, but we need a good floor at that position. We don't need the best receiving core of the lobby. We just need a viable one that's going to be good enough at the beginning of the season to stay afloat. But coming back on the clock pretty soon. 2 picks until mine. And wide receiver is probably the way to go. I would have loved to take Luther Burden here, but got sniped. He goes pick 140. I could go Dylan Sampson. That is tempting. He gets sniped, though. Not going to go with Dylan Sampson. Kind of want to take Braylon Allen, but at wide receiver, a little hard to trust. I'll go DeMario. I don't think DeMario is like that much worse than Diggs, in all honesty. Really high floor type of player. Like, if you just want to bank 7 points, DeMario, Douglas, and Wan'Dale Robinson are those types of guys. Oh, shit. Low, Kane coming in with the big donation. Thank you very much, Low. Love your work, man. Keep up the great content. Yo, appreciate you, man. I'm gonna rip the pipe after this next pick in honor of Low. Thank you so much, bro. $50 is really generous. Shout out Low Kane. Appreciate you, man. I am on the clock. But Braylon Allen did get taken. That's a big bummer. I'll go Jaden Blue. We'll risk it with Jaden Blue. A bye that's not in week 8. And I think by week 8 he will have the job. And at this point, like, I'm willing to take a swing on a running back that's going to be a starter. I'll go Jaden Blue. But in honor of Mr. Kane, let's pack the bowl. If there was ever a time to take a hit, it's in honor of Mr. Kane. All right, so after Jaden Blue, we see Wanda Robinson, Rashad White, Bashal Tutin. I don't know if Rashad White's a great pick in this format right now because Rashad White has the groin injury. Maybe Sean Tucker is actually a pretty sneaky pickup in the Eliminator. Sean Tucker might be our 18th round pick. But I have seen him go higher than round 18. Whoa. Okay, so after Rashad White, Bashal Tutin, Cam Ward, Najee Harris. Yikes! I don't think I'd take Najee in the Eliminator, man. Like of all tournaments to pass, I think this is the one to completely ignore Najee Harris and Quinshon Judkins. That does not feel smart. Like maybe you'll advance and it'll play a factor down the stretch, but your odds of making it just like week 5 is so fucking slim already. I'm not going to take Najee in the Eliminator. But Jerome Ford, Brenton Strange, Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb's kind of interesting. And then Jonnu, Stafford, Kyle Williams, QJ goes. So we're not going to get that insane price on QJ. That's okay. I don't need Quentin Johnston to win the tournament. At least I don't think so. I don't need Mr. King of Dropsville. But at this point in the draft, he's an interesting value. Anyways, after this pick, we will light it up. We will spark it up. Judkins continues to fall, but I don't plan to take him. Here's the thing, if my Igbuka pick is bad, it's because Jalen McMillan still has a role. I'm not dying to invest in Adam Thielen, but let's take a insurance policy on the Igbuka investment. Because like I know Mike Evans is going to pop off early in the season. I think Igbuka is going to be the number 2, but there is a chance that the rookie does start off just like a little slow. And if that is the case, it's to the benefit of Jalen McMillan. So with the mindset of just drafting for the early part of the year and then just letting luck play out the rest of the way, I will give the edge to Jalen McMillan here. But I also think Adam Thielen is pretty tempting. Not convinced Tedero McMillan will be like, you know, everything as promised is as early as week 1. Maybe I should have gone tight end there because we only have TJ Hawkinson, but I think it's okay. I think I can still piece it together at tight end. Anyways, back to the board. We go Jalen McMillan, Adam Thielen at that turn. And now it's time to give a full thank you to Mr. Kane. Thank you for the super chat, my friend. Really appreciate it. Let's go. But we take Adam Thielen, then Cedric Tillman, Tyler Algier, Isaac Guerrero, and Rico Dowdle. These guys have the chance to pop off late, but week 1, I really have a hard time buying into their role. Like Algier and Guerrero are pretty much complete zeros until the starter gets hurt. You know what I'm saying? Like if McCaffrey does not get injured, you're not really seeing any value from Guerrero. And same applies with Algier in relation to Bijan. They're interesting, but given how we have Gibbs, Hampton, both Jags, and then Jaden Blue, don't know if that's the direction I need. I kind of faded receiver for a while, So I kind of felt a little more of a need to get back in at that position. Now I have 7 receivers or 3 picks left. I need another tight end. And then I probably need another running back at least. Maybe we go 3 quarterbacks as well. But QB's drying up significantly. I think I might ignore the 3rd quarterback. Yeah, after week 1, it's a 1v1 advancement, head to head. A 50% advance rate every single week after that. So if we're just betting on a coin flip, I don't know if I need a 3rd quarterback when I already have Lamar. You know, like Lamar is almost never finishing outside the top 10. I also have Jordan Love, so I think I'll be okay at quarterback, but their early buys kind of scary. Isaiah Likely falling, pretty appropriate for that to happen. I feel like I could go Kareem Hunt and get some early points, but I actually feel really strong with Jahmyr Gibbs and Omarion Hampton. I am going to take that gamble on the elite handcuff. Let's go Will Shipley. We went with Gibbs over Saquon in this draft, so to further that logic, maybe Saquon does miss some time. And Shipley looked really good in the preseason. I don't really worry about A.J. Dillon. So around after them, guys like JCM and Woody Marks are off the board, some guys I prefer, but in the same context of Tyler Algier and Isaac Garendo, the upside is definitely like a top 10 running back if it works out. So I'll go Will Shipley. And now we're back on the clock. I need a tight end bad. I believe Terrence Ferguson is the tight end 1 in LA for the Rams. And although the ADP says go Elijah Arroyo, ooh, the Stafford injury though, maybe that was the wrong pick. Maybe I should have taken Arroyo, but I think there's more touchdown upside in the Rams offense. And if Stafford's hurt, I think there's more risk in the beginning of the season. And I already took TJ Hawkinson expecting some good production at the beginning of the year. So perhaps that was the wrong pick. Terrence Ferguson might not have been the right call there. So maybe I should take another tight end. I don't really want to. But let's think through this. At quarterback, we got Lamar and Jordan Love. I don't think I need to take a 3rd. Running back, Gibbs, Hampton, Etienne, Bigsby, Jaden Blue, and Will Shipley. I think I'll stop with 6. Wide receiver, Xavier Worthy, Calvin Ridley, Igbuka, Jaden Higgins, Demario Douglas, Jalen McMillan, and Adam Thielen. And then tight end, TJ Hawkinson, Terrence Ferguson. I think it's between wide receiver, tight end for this last pick. But I can't say there's many wide receivers that are like really calling my name. Ray McLeod is kind of interesting because of the Darnell Mooney injury. But not a touchdown score. Doesn't really move the needle that much. Meanwhile, at tight end, there's guys like Juwan Johnson, Dalton Schultz, Theo Johnson. I will say Theo Johnson from a floor perspective is actually pretty tempting. Albie noticing a pattern. Anyone else noticing that Adam tends to regret the first pick he makes after smoking? That's pretty fair, you know. I mean, but was Ferguson the first pick? I thought I took Shipley above Ferguson. I don't regret Shipley. Yeah, the receiver market is pretty sad. Elik Ayamanor is kind of calling my name. I'm not dying to take Ray Ray. Jalen Naylor goes. I have Ridley. Let's just bet on Ridley, and I'll go with the third tight end. I'll take Theo Johnson. Theo Johnson getting some good camp hype. Last year, before he got hurt, he was putting up the same numbers as a guy like Jatavian Sanders, who's been moving up the board quickly. Like Jatavian Sanders goes pick 185, round 16 with the 5th pick. I took Theo Johnson in the final round, picked 214 overall, and let's have a little fun exercise here. Let's compare Theo Johnson to the like positive sample size of Jatavian Sanders, because they actually had very similar rookie seasons when you put it in context. Theo Johnson got hurt in week 13 and did not play after that. But let's just look at all of the games before he got injured. Now, touchdowns were not his calling card. Touchdowns were not safe to bet on. He did score 1. That was against the Commanders. Otherwise, though, let's just look at the floor of what he was giving you. 5 targets, 5 catches for 48. Then 3 for 3 for 30. He did give you a bagel in week 7, but then 3 for 35, 3 for 51 and a touchdown, 4 for 37, 3 for 39, 5 for 54. You're at least getting like 5-6 points every single week, and then there is that touchdown upside. And then if he gives you like 5 catches, now you're looking at like 7-8 points. That's fine from like a floor backup tight end. So his average stat line in this, let's get rid of the bagel. So let's just look at the last 5 games. Average stat line is 5 targets, 3.6 catches for 43 yards, and 1 touchdown. So 3.6 catches, 43 yards. Now let's go to Jatavian, guy who's getting a lot of hype. Having a slightly better camp and probably has a better quarterback. But here's the thing about Jatavian. He got hurt in week 12. He only played 19% of the snaps. Then he was inactive. And then he came back on the field, but lost his job to Tommy Tremble. Like, they decided they're not going to push it with Jatavian. And until week 18, he didn't do jack shit. He had 3 bagels and then 1 for 5 in week 17. But if you look at the previous 6 games before he got hurt, this is pretty much the exact same stat line that I just read off for Theo Johnson. 3.5 catches, 43 yards, and 1 touchdown. That's exactly what we just mentioned for Theo Johnson. Granted, it was a 6-game span. With Theo, it was just a 5-game span. So there was higher upside. Jatavian had an 87-yard game, a 49-yard game, a 61-yard game, another 49-yard game. And maybe he does have like slightly higher potential. But the quarterback upgrade in New York is going to benefit Theo Johnson. He's got the same path for success as Jatavian Sanders does. The two of them are in the exact same tier, in my opinion. So I'll take the guy who goes a little bit later, 2 rounds later in Theo Johnson, while Jatavian moves up the board a little bit. But both of them, I think, are legit like random flyers late. I think they're both kind of interesting. But actually, I kind of want to look at that full draft real quick. Let's just remind you how this draft went. We went Gibbs, Jackson, I guess Gibbs, Lamar. He's known as Lamar, not Jackson. Omarion Hampton, Xavier Worthy, Calvin Ridley, Egbuka, TJ Hawkinson, Etienne, Higgins, Bigsby, Jordan Love, Demario Douglas, Jaden Blue, McMillan, Thielen, Will Shipley, Terrence Ferguson, Theo Johnson. Other than Terrence Ferguson, I think we had a very, very good draft. But don't hate it. Don't hate it at all. I think we have a shot. If we can just make it to week 4, that's kind of all I'm asking in the Eliminator. Beyond that point, that's just mostly good luck. If you can make it to like week 10, week 15, anywhere in there, you're going to make a big profit in the Eliminator, and you're one of like 1,000 teams at that point. Anyways, let's do another one. Let's do one more draft, and Albie's asking, Puppy or the new Flock draft, perhaps? Is there a new Flock tournament today? Is it live? If it's live, then maybe we'll do it. Yes, there is a new Flock tournament. In general, I'm not like dying to max out all of these Flock tournaments because you have to finish first. But if you do advance one team to the final, you guarantee $50, and then you have a really good shot at making at least 1,000. Like if you win it, you get 10K, and the final group is only 100 people. So let's do one flock tournament. That's the plan. I'll do one. If you want to join me, this is the tournament we're going to hop into, the $10 flock tournament. It's a 20-second timer, and that's the only option. So hit the button right now, join if you want in, and I will hop in as well in 3, 2, 1. Let's do it. 10 spots left. So hopefully you did not get into the previous lobby. Hopefully I did get the timing correct, and you're one of the people who has just trickled in. There's 7 spots left. If you want one, you can definitely grab it. While we wait, I will grab a beverage. I'm going to go get a drink. I'll be back. Three spots left in this flock tournament. And I do have some coconut water today. We do have some coconut water. Back to our roots. This is our draft beverage of choice, but don't always have it. Happy to have it. I get pick 12. Not the best, but we can go any direction we want when we're at pick 12. This will be fun. But Albie noticing the red badge. Yeah, let me block out my face real quick. Nope, not that one. Okay, yeah, so I'm at pick 12, and I did get the red badge. It happened in, like, the last 10 days. I think on, like, August 3rd, August 2nd. That's when I got the badge. But I've kind of always said the badge is more a sign that you're addicted to this, not necessarily that you're always the sharpest drafter. But it does look nice. I will say the red and white looks kind of cool. But I feel like as the years go on and more people accumulate these badges, they're gonna have to start having different colors. Like, what do you get if you hit like 5,000 drafts, or 10,000 drafts? I feel like that's another level than just 1,000. So they'll probably introduce some new badge colors in like the next few years. Because how long has this website been running? 6 years now? I assume so, because it's the 6th Best Ball Mania. But maybe they were live before then. I don't know. Anyways, if you're not first in this league, you are last. So got to go full Ricky Bobby. I'm going to take Drake London. I'm going to ignore Puka right now. Oh, shit. And then I'm going to take Derrick Henry. If Stafford misses time, you can still advance a Puka team in general, but to finish first, I think is pretty hard to do as your first round pick. I'm going to take Drake London. London also a very safe candidate to stay fully healthy. London is only 24 years old. He was actually top 5 in scoring last year. And I know I'm going to get kind of weird in the next few rounds. So let's just lock up one of like the elite players at wide receiver. And then I have updated my rankings at running back where Derrick Henry is my highest ranked guy. Miami scares the shit out of me. The vibes are just so bad in Miami. Have you guys watched the Rich Eisen interview with Mike McDaniel, the head coach of the Dolphins? You don't need to watch the whole thing, but there's like a clip from that interview when like he's being asked about Tua and Tyreek's relationship, and like Mike McDaniel is fucking awkward and like pissed off at this subject, and like he like makes this weird comment like, "Oh, why are you using your therapist voice?" Like he gets like passive aggressive very quickly. I think Mike McDaniel's gonna have a terrible year. I I used to only be worried about Tyreek Hill and Tua. Now I think it extends to everyone. I'm really worried about the Dolphins. I don't think A-Chain is as safe. Like the volume's locked up for A-Chain, but he also comes with some fragile risk to injure himself. Like 2 years ago, he missed a shit ton of time on like barely any touches. Last year he stayed healthy, but which year are you gonna get? I don't know. And then everything can go out the window when Tua suffers a concussion. Like Tua getting a concussion just ruins everything. I don't want to bet on the Dolphins. It feels just gross. The only one I can like tolerate is A-Chain, but even that feels compared to Derrick Henry does not feel as safe. Derrick Henry feels bust proof. Doesn't matter that he's 31 years old. Like he doesn't fucking matter. Derrick Henry's just money in the bank. But after the second round, we see Harrison at the turn. Gross. Jacobs, Lamar, Tyreek Hill, Josh Allen, Hampton, JSN, Garrett Wilson, Mike Evans, Kyron Williams, George Kittle. Would have loved to take Kittle here, but we don't get him. I'm not going to take Devontae Adams. I think I will take Jaden Daniels. And then I'm also going to take Travion Henderson. Drake London is our stud. I'd much rather grab 2 wide receivers at the next turn than miss out on someone like Travion Henderson and Kenneth Walker. Let's go with Travion. Have you seen the Patriots schedule? The Patriots schedule is a fucking joke. Where is it? New England Patriots. The Patriots are obviously going to lose to the very good teams, but there are so many bottom feeders on this schedule. Week 1 versus the Raiders. Week 2 at Miami. Week 3 versus Pittsburgh. Week 4 versus Carolina. Then at Buffalo, at New Orleans, at Tennessee. The middle of this schedule is like so fucking easy. Versus Cleveland, the Falcons, Tampa Bay. That one's tough. Let's not pretend like Tampa is not a playoff team. Then the Jets, the Bengals is not a tough matchup. Bengals defense does suck. Probably lose that game though. Giants before the bye, and then Bills Baltimore is really like the only like terrifying 2 week stretch, and then the Jets and the Dolphins to close it out. The Patriots have, like Albie's saying, one of the easiest schedules. I think they're the second easiest schedule. The Niners schedule is also really, really easy. But the Patriots schedule is so fucking easy. Jacob saying passing on Adams is dumb. I still believe in Adams, but look, man, I got 20% Devontae Adams so far. And if Stafford does miss like just 3 games, it's going to be more difficult to advance Adams. If this had a structure where I could finish second and still advance to the playoffs, then I'd probably consider Adams there, at least over Travion. I agree, maybe passing on him was a mistake, but I have to finish first. I can't afford a Jimmy Garoppolo stint for Adams in this format. In the Flock tournament, there's only the best case scenario available, and like avoiding landmines, I think, is a way to go. So I'm going to go with Travion. But if it was in this format, I probably would have taken Adams. I just really want a running back I can count on. And I don't think I'm going to have the same caliber of options at this 5-6 turn. I'm also at pick 12. At pick 12, you can do whatever the fuck you want. Like, if we rewind to June, when I was drafting on the live stream at pick 12, I was taking Kittle well above ADP at the 3-4 turn. I was taking Kittle at pick 37 in June. Where does he go now? Pick 35. And at the time, Kittle was going at pick like 50, 53. It was like such a big reach to grab Kittle at 37. I'm willing to be a madman at pick 12. Now, I'm probably not going to take Jared Goff at this turn. I don't think at pick 60 I'm in the mood for a Jared Goff selection. But I have seen it happen. All right. Debo gets sniped. That's unfortunate. I was planning to take Debo. I'm going to grab Egbuka, and I'm going to grab Pearsall. What's going on? There we go. Okay. I need receiver. We ignored it 3 out of the first 4 rounds. And although we have Drake London, we're not in terrible shape. That was the whole point of taking Travion Henderson there. Getting a great running back and then still filling in the roster with some high upside receivers. I'll go Egbuka and Pearsall. I think the Patriots are an 11-win team. I think they're going to be in the playoffs this season. And I actually think now they're going to end up bouncing my Chargers. I would make the bet that the Patriots are the 7 seed. The Chargers missed the playoffs now. And it pains me to say this. I'm a Charger fan. You guys know where my biases lean. But with no Rashawn Slater, there's going to be one go either way game that just does not go in their favor anymore. Like, I think that Pittsburgh game is going to be a rough spot against J.J. Watt and Cam Hayward with a diminished offensive line. So I think the Chargers are now a 10-win team. And at 10 wins, I don't think you get into the playoffs in the AFC. I think the Patriots are going to bounce them. Patriots' schedule is just so fucking easy. It pays to be in 4th place. Like, if you can finish last in your division and then get like a 4th place schedule that also goes up against like a really weak division, if you draft really well and you have, a lot of like new pieces that are going to help, like Mike Vrabel, for instance, big coaching upgrade, then you have a shot to at least double your wins, if not triple them. And I think the Patriots are locked into double-digit wins. But who knows? Anything can happen in the NFL. Injuries at any moment, let alone just being wrong. I've been wrong in the past. Let's not underestimate my capacity to be incorrect. But after we go Pearsall, we see Diggs also with a bit of a reach. James Conner, RJ Harvey, Tony Pollard, DeAndre Swift, Joe Burrow, Matthew Golden, Rome Odunze. Rome is falling. Odunze, that is. But Pacheco, Juwan, Mahomes at 72, Jerry Jeudy, Aaron Jones, Caleb Johnson, Chris Olave. Again, we have to finish first in this lobby. So while I do want to play it safe with some picks, I also want to gamble on some like elite values. And there's a couple of different directions I can go with these next two picks. But I know some of you are drafting in here with me, so I'm going to keep it quiet. Laporta goes. I would have liked to have Laporta. That would have been kind of cool in the 12th slot, but he never really falls this far. Highest ranked is Jaden Higgins. We're going to go with Jaden Higgins. And then I'm going to double tap Houston. I do have Joe Mixon ranked the highest. I might be completely burning myself here by taking him. He may not play at all, but I don't see him coming back around at 108. And if he only misses like 3 or 4 games, it's kind of insane that we are drafting him in like the 100s. So I'll take Joe Mixon here. Might cost me, but I've already made some gambles with like the reach on Henderson, trusting Egbuka and Pearsall. Like my receiving core is really young and unproven. Basically 3 rookies almost. Pearsall might as well be a rookie. He's not, but he's not that much different than one. But who knows? Maybe this is the combo you need. Let's hope Mixon is healthy enough. Anyways, taking the gamble on Mixon is probably worth a hit. Let's see if we regret this next pick. Let's test out Albie's theory that I always regret the pick after I smoke. Albie was wondering if Burrow could make it to you. He does not. Burrow goes to an unstacked team at 6. But odds are the team with Chase Brown... Oh, they had Lamar. They probably would have passed on Burrow. But I will say it does feel nice to have an elite quarterback in this winner-take-all format. I appreciate you bringing it up. Now I can fix the problem, you know? Like, until you know that you have a tell, you know, you're going to be tipping every hand in poker. So someone's got to tell you what your tell is if you don't already know. Otherwise, it's just subconscious. Now we bring it to the forefront of the mind. Now we can tackle this issue, you know, firsthand. Playing 3-dimensional chess. Or just blowing smoke up your ass. One of the two. But on this team, I could consider a Brock Purdy selection. We have Ricky Pearsall. If I had Kittle as well, it'd be a no-brainer. But I think this team with Kittle is probably going to snipe me on Purdy. I doubt they're going to gamble on his availability. Andrews off the board. I would have Considered Andrews. Drake May goes. That's a little different than expected. Nah, I almost took Ayuk there, but instead I'll go Luther Burden. Our receiver room is kind of gross, and then I think I'm gonna go Evan Ingram. I have Jaden Daniels. Let's get a good tight end. I'll take Evan Ingram. But I almost took Ayuk there. I almost took Brock Purdy there. I almost took Colston Loveland there as well. But I think the safest floor is Evan Ingram. And I do feel confident about the Broncos offense. I think the Broncos are going to have a better record than the Chargers this season. Broncos, I think, are going to go 12-5. And Ingram's talking like he's so happy to be there. Was Leia on the screen? Was she? Nah, she's chilling over there. Thought maybe she was like behind me. But she's taking a nap. She's not interested right now. I fed her before the stream and she's just knocked out. She's chilling, taking a cat nap. But here's the full roster. We went Drake London, Derrick Henry, Jaden Daniels, Travion Henderson. And then at receiver, we took Emeka Egbuka, Ricky Pearsall, Jaden Higgins, Joe Mixon. Mixon, I think, is going to be like the deciding factor on this team. I don't regret any pick up until there. But Mixon is either one of the best picks you can make or one of the worst picks you can make. It might be a completely wasted selection. I hope not. But I think with the top two I have, I think it's okay to make that gamble. Because, again, the difference between drafting the second best team in this league and the 12th best team is no different at all. And then even if you finish first, you're also still not guaranteed any money. You still have to advance in 2 playoff matchups, which are both 1v1. So you have a 50% shot in weeks 15 and 16. But only if you make week 17 do you get anything. So there's got to be at least one major gamble. But remember, Mixon used to go in the 4th round. We just took him at the 7-8 round turn. And he rarely goes like after pick 100 anymore. Like I think he kind of reached his plateau of how far people were willing to let him fall. It's not as often I see him in like deep round 9. He usually goes in like mid 8, early 9. So at the turn, gotta scoop that up before you get boxed out. But Fields fell to 114 in this draft behind Goff, Purdy, and Lawrence. What's the deal with Lawrence? Why is Lawrence getting taken in the 10th round the last 2 drafts we're in? Albie cannot risk me taking Penix. He grabs Penix at 122. Kind of unfortunate when we have London, but not the end of the world. Could go CJ Stroud here. I also have Mixon, so we're invested in Houston. Doesn't feel like a bad decision. With one of these picks, yeah, let's go with CJ Stroud. That way I'm done at quarterback. And thankfully they also have a different bye week. Almost forgot to notice that. Do I go with Tajay? Kind of want to take Tajay, but maybe we grab a good tight end. There's always a chance that the breakout we thought was going to happen for Kincaid last year does happen. So I'll go with Dalton Kincaid. Because Khalil Shakir is banged up. Keon Coleman may not take any leap at all in year 2. Might still kind of be irrelevant. And maybe Kincaid is just, you know, developing slowly. But he's a first round pick at the end of the day. They would at least like to try and get that going if they can. Yeah, I got to get her attention with the bird situation. I don't know if you know this about Bengals, but they kind of imitate some of like the tiger hunting techniques where apparently tigers have like really adept vocal cords, and sometimes tigers will like hide in the jungle and imitate birds like mating calls, and then like when other predators that are trying to hunt these birds go and looking for them, they end up stumbling on a tiger, and the tiger is just like ready to fucking have dinner, because some fucking dumb animal mistook their fake bird call. That's what Bengals try to do. And I wouldn't say Leia's great at it, but I've heard her try to imitate bird calls a lot when she's like out on the patio outside, and she tries to get birds to like come and fly close to her so she can swat them down. It's pretty cool. It's kind of funny like to see all the failed attempts, but yeah, it's like a cat trying to like make a fake bird call. And some of them are not like terrible, but it's not convincing, at least to me. But she gets fixated on the birds. Alex wanted Kincaid. Bummer, bro. You did have Josh Allen. Makes sense. Not today, my friend. Not today. The tight end cliff kind of hits once you hit Dallas Goedert. Like after Dallas Goedert, like maybe there's some guys that work out, like Ferguson or Zach Ertz. Be my guest to bet on Kyle Pitts. I used to believe in Isaiah Likely, but his injury makes it tricky. Should probably get back in at running back at some point. I think Braylon Allen was already taken. I think I'm going to go Tyler Algier with one of these picks. I need some running back points. Let's go with Algier. And then I kind of want to take Quentin Johnston. I kind of want to take Garendo. Let's swing for the fence. Let's go Garendo. Niners RB1 if McCaffrey goes down. Top 15 upside in that scenario. Let's swing for the fence. So we took Mixon as our RB3. It kind of feels like I punted the depth on the position a little bit. I think I need 6 running backs on this team. And some of the handcuffs with the highest upside are those two guys I just took, Tyler Algier and Garendo. Braylon Allen did go pick 138 in this draft. So 2 running backs after Bigsby, right after Tyjae Spears. That's where I'm ranking him back-to-back with Tank Bigsby. I think Braylon Allen in the 12th is a very good pick. I still prefer Ray Davis, but you can't really convince me that it's better to have Cam Scatterbo than Braylon Allen. Anyways, after Garendo, we see Jalen McMillan off the board. Najee Harris, Zach Ertz goes. So not going to get that stack at tight end, but I'm not too upset about that. We have Ingram and Kincaid. I could get away with just 2 tight ends on this team. But Cam Ward, Geno Smith, some good values at quarterback this late. Xavier Legette, Hunter Henry, Nick Chubb, Rico Dowdle, Adam Thielen, Austin Eckler, and Roschon Johnson. So running back is starting to dry up. Thank God I have London on this team, because otherwise this would be a really risky way to go about it. But with London as the crux, I feel pretty strong. Got to get some good depth, though. We'll see if QJ circles back. I doubt it, but he might still be a bad pick, even this late. Um, hmm. Are there any quarterbacks remaining that I'm even going to consider? Stafford just gets taken to free Tim Tebow. There's Richardson, Darnold, Rodgers, and then like Daniel Jones, Russell Wilson. I think I'm going to tap out at QB with Jaden Daniels and CJ Stroud. Let's leave that alone. Tight end, maybe we get one more. But if we do, we only chase upside with that pick. Running back, I want one more for sure. And that still leaves me with at least 2 to 3 more picks at receiver. So receivers, the preference, QJ goes as expected. But there's still some interesting tight ends left available. Like Isaiah Likely this late does pique my interest. And just as we say that, he does go off the board at 177. That's a really good price on Likely. After Chigokonko, I think that's worth it, especially in best ball. So here I am, and Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt's on the board. Ja'Cory's one of my favorite picks in round 15. Let's go. Happily going to take JCM. And instead of going with like another elite handcuff like Will Shipley, maybe a guy that can just win the job outright, even if the starter does not go down. So correlates with Jaden Daniels. Let's go JCM. And then I'm back on the clock. And let's take another one of our favorite risers. If you were watching the drafts in June, I was drafting Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt and Torrey Horton with my 17th and 18th round pick when I was at the 12th spot. I was liking them a lot in the 18th round. Now you got to reach on them a full round ahead at the 15-16 turn. So some guys I've been a buyer in all off season. The market is starting to take notice, and I'm well above the average exposure on both of these players. So I'll happily chase them up the board until they hit like the Tyler Algier range. Like if they go a full round higher, I'd still rather have Jalen McMillan and probably Quentin Johnston above Torrey Horton. And then I'd probably still rather have Tyler Algier and Isaac Garendo above JCM, but not by much. I think JCM could still compete with those guys. JCM versus Bashal Tutin, that's a pretty close call. I don't feel like decisive on like a guaranteed answer to that. Bashal Tutin versus Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. That's a good poll question. Let's ask everybody who's watching. Which running back do you prefer? Bashal Tutin of the Jacksonville Jaguars or Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt of the Washington Commanders. Both RB3s in their offenses, and I don't think it's crazy to expect them to be the starter by the end of the season. Like if we hit Thanksgiving and Bashal Tutin and JCM are the starters for Jacksonville and Washington, that feels appropriate. So I think I got some good picks on this team. I think who we have at wide receiver makes it work. I mean, I got a lot of rookies. That's maybe not that safe. Maybe not the wise decision. But what's weird is I think a lot of the rookies we have really good upside in the beginning of the season. Like, usually rookies pop at the end of the year. I love the role for Igbuka at the beginning of the year when Godwin is off the field. Same goes for Ricky Pearsall when Ayuk's off the field. And then with Joe Mixon probably missing time, I think Jaden Higgins is also like a pretty safe lock in that offense to get a shit ton of volume as well. Luther Burden, I don't know about. And we have a pretty decent room at running back. I don't hate it. But I think I'm done with my running back picks. I think we need another receiver, if not two. And then at tight end, I think I'll probably just stick with Ingram and Kincaid. I don't know if I want Schultz on this team. We could go Theo Johnson, but So let's ignore that. I'm going to go Elik Ayamanor. Another rookie, but fuck it, man. We are committed. And then I will admit, Ben Sennett does kind of pique some of my interest as well. I'm gonna take Ben Sennett, the very underrated stack with Jaden Daniels. And Zach Ertz is 34 years old. I think he turns 35 in like October or something. So in year 2, I wanted Deebo Samuel to stack with Jaden Daniels. That's kind of why I passed on Terry McLaurin. But then I got sniped on Deebo. So I've always wanted some stack with Jaden Daniels. Let's get the one that very few people are drafting. Again, if this team is not like top 1% in terms of outcomes, then this team is dead in the water. This team is probably lighting $10 on fire in the flock tournament. But we have the hopeful optimism that we drafted correctly. And this is a risky team. But at pick 12, I don't hate it. We go Drake London, Derrick Henry at the 1-2 turn. I pass on Puka Nacua because I have to finish first, and I don't think I can risk a Jimmy Garoppolo season. Jaden Daniels, Travion Henderson at the 3-4. I want the elite quarterback. I want a really good running back, and there's no way Henderson is circling back. Then I go Igbuka, Ricky Pearsall. I think some really undervalued, high upside rookie wide receivers, like true stud potential. I think these guys could be league winners. If they really do operate at the wide receiver 1 in their offense. I don't think it's impossible. And then Jaden Higgins, Joe Mixon, a double bet on Houston. Higgins, I think, is going to be pretty good while Mixon is out, and hopefully Mixon comes back healthy enough early in the season where he's not a total bust. But who knows? Luther Burden, Evan Ingram, because I need another receiver, and I want a good tight end. CJ Stroud for that Jaden Higgins stack. Also, the Joe Mixon stack, followed by Dalton Kincaid so that I can stop with a good backup tight end who has potential to finish in the top 5 any given week. Then I need to get back in at running back because Mixon as the 3rd is not safe. We go Algier Garendo, and then in the following round, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt as the 6th, followed by Torrey Horton, a high upside rookie if Cooper Kupp goes down, and then Elik Ayamanor, apparently vying to be the number 2 target in Cam Ward's Tennessee Titans offense. I think he will be above Chimeri DK, and it's probably like a quick matter of time before he's above Tyler Lockett in that depth chart. And then last round, we take a full dart throw, just a lottery pick flyer on Ben Sennett. Maybe Ertz doesn't play very much this season. Maybe he gets hurt, and maybe the 7 touchdowns that went to Ertz last year are now going to the second round pick, Ben Sennett, at tight end. It does stack up with Jaden Daniels. So that's the team. Let's hope for the best. Odds are I don't advance. I don't make money. You have to finish top 1 of 1 in this lobby to advance. So Quincy asking, we doing one more? Why not? Let's do one more. But we're not going to do a flock tournament. That's for sure. I don't want to max out the flock tournament if I don't have to. Instead, we're going to do either a puppy for $5 or an MMG for $5. Let's do the puppy. I'm just being honest with you, man. Like, I don't recommend wasting all of your money in the flock tournament every single time. Like, I've done plenty of them. Like, the first one I maxed out. I've done probably 5 since then. But this is the, 6th tournament. And instead of having 18 entries in a winner take all kind of format, I only have 8 entries, you know? It's not my favorite tournament to like expect a ROI, but I feel confident I'm at least competitive in that lobby. The team was pretty good. I didn't think the team was bad. But we got some familiar names in this lobby in the puppy. We see KS Cash, we see Albie, we see Severe Jury as well. But today we don't see Stage 9, who again, I have no idea if just by random chance keeps drafting with us or is intentionally drafting with us. But today there's no Stage 9 clinger. Not today. Anyways, we have pick 5, so probably just going to take like whoever's at the top of ADP. But if Gibbs is there, I'll probably go Gibbs ahead of Saquon. But I'd be very happy with CD Lamb if he's there. Any of these next 3 picks are fine by me. I think 6 is starting to get a little bit more risky. I think 6, it's a toss-up between CMC and Jefferson. I'd probably go CMC as of today. But we're going to go CD Lamb above Christian McCaffrey. That, I think, is the right pick. Quincy is asking, how do you get into fantasy football content creation? How does that process unfold? What drove you to do it? It was the pandemic, and you know, I was home a lot more, and that was like the first time I made a week 12 of like 2020 was like my first fantasy video, and it was terrible. Oh my god, the first few videos I made in fantasy were really bad. Like the first one I was like holding the camera in my hand. There was no editing involved at all, and there was terrible lighting. I didn't have a microphone. Like the first like 5 weeks I did this uh in the fantasy playoffs of like 2020 were really really bad. Then I invested in a few like equipment, you know, items. Like I got a microphone, I got some other stuff. And it was just like I've always loved fantasy football. I've always wanted to do my content, my research in like a public way. I always do a shit ton of research, more than I probably need to in the first place. And it seemed like a good outlet for like some of my skill set. Like I went to film school, and over the years, like after college, like working in Hollywood is fun and interesting, but like it's a grind, and it does kind of burn you out sometimes, and like it also makes you feel very replaceable sometimes. Like you don't really feel like you have a safe floor when you work in the entertainment industry. There's a lot of one-day contracts in what I do, and like sometimes those rack up and add up, and sometimes they dry out. So I've wanted like other outlets, and I went to film school. I'm gonna take Bucky Irving here. And I also grew up like in front of the camera. So I've wanted to have like a YouTube channel ever since I was in college. And like I do have another YouTube channel where I've posted like my college projects and stuff. Like if you ever want to check that out, you can just Google Adam Riancho. I have another channel, but I haven't posted on there in years. And if I was gonna do fantasy content, I wanted like a specific channel of its own. So I just decided to commit to it one day with like the hopes that even if it took years, it's a seasonal thing that I can build on year over year. And like, even if I grind and it doesn't make any money for like 3, 5 years, it's possible that like by year 6, it pays my bills, you know, like that's what I'm really hoping it does one day. But at the same time, it's definitely a passion of mine. So, um, I like doing it. Started doing it just for fun, and I really enjoy doing it. It's like it's been very nice to like grow this channel. I'm gonna go Mike Evans. I could go with an elite quarterback here easily, but I'm gonna pair up Bucky Irving and Mike Evans. And I think it's starting to look more and more obvious. Like the Bucks passing game is just so valuable, and Mike Evans is gonna benefit just as much as Egbuka will with the injury to Chris Godwin. Cobra asking if Quincy Jones is in at 12. He's there at 12. Cobra, which pick are you? Are you in this draft, Cobra? Apologies if I forgot. Found my IMDb. Yeah, I don't pay for IMDb Pro anymore, so I don't have a headshot on there. I don't have an agent right now. So usually that's something they take care of. And I paid for it for a while, but I kind of just stopped paying for it because it didn't feel like it was worth it. Especially when I went to Minnesota and I was like considering like completely giving up on Hollywood. uh, yeah, if you were watching the channel 2 years ago, I did live in Minneapolis for a year. So I've been I've been up and down. I've been living in different places, different circumstances. But it's been an interesting ride. Last 4 years with the channel have been a fun ride. Quincy saying I reference your videos every week last year to see who to start. Thanks, man. I hope I didn't cost you a couple wins with some bad calls. But in general, a lot of the research we do does pan out. A lot of the time, I feel like some of my rankings are pretty accurate. Never perfect, but, you know, sometimes this game is a cruel mistress. But I think this year I'm going to be posting all of my waiver wire content for the public, not behind the paywall, not on the membership. We'll do like trade targets on the membership, and I'll post my waiver acquisitions on the channel. But kind of want to go Jalen Hurts, but instead I'm going to take George Pickens. Nah, I think I'm going to go Travion. I really like Travion, and KS Cash is in this lobby with us at pick 2. I don't think KS Cash is gonna pass on Henderson twice. Maybe at the 411, but not at the 5-2. He goes Kenneth Walker. Yeah, wanted a running back. And technically, I do rank Walker one spot above Travion, but it's mainly because week 1, like maybe Ramondre is still like a little bit relevant, whereas Kenneth Walker's like the immediate starter, no holds barred. And then Walker does have like a little more injury risk than Travion. So I actually kind of want to flip it. Now that I've been drafting it as like a even tier, I have been taking Travion ahead of Walker. So maybe that's the new update at my receiver rankings. We need to factor in. Travion is RB15. Kenneth Walker is 16. But James Cook did return to practice today, so he's not falling anymore, going in early 4th round. I still think Ray Davis is going to eat into his volume, but he has top 10 upside, so think he's a good pick there. I'd still rank James Cook ahead of Travion Henderson. Breece Hall, however, no chance. Breece Hall should go in the 5th round. Pickens does not make it back. I never do this, but I think in the fifth round on underdog specifically, it's worth mixing in sometimes. I'll go Rashee Rice. He falls 8 picks past ADP, but I never take Rashee Rice. It's not my preferred pick at all. But I do feel pretty confident when we have CeeDee Lamb and Mike Evans. I can tolerate him missing time on this roster. Like, especially with Godwin missing time, Evans will be better at the beginning of the season. I can always still get good wide receiver depth, so his upside in this rotation I think is worth it. Thanks, Quincy. I am hoping we get another. I hope hoping to crack 10K this year. That's my like low end goal. High end goal, I would love to crack 12K. I would love to double it. Because last year I was able to double it from 3 to 6. If I can double it from 6 to 12, I'd be ecstatic. So 10K, the conservative goal for this year. 12, the high end goal. But even if it doesn't crack 8, like I still love doing it. When I maybe the first few years I really cared about the subscriber count and it was like weighing on me a lot. Now I feel like it doesn't matter as much. Like obviously I love for the subscribers to be more, but it doesn't like I don't think about it every day. I'll put it that way. I used to like fucking check after every fucking post, like every day. Like I'm hoping it went up, but now it doesn't weigh on me as much. But obviously, I want it to grow. Thanks for the support, Quincy. I appreciate the comments. And one more shout out to Low Kane earlier on, bro. I really appreciate this donation. It means a lot. Anyways, Dev is saying Brees in the fifth. I might own 110% Brees. Yeah, I'm out on Brees, man. Ooh, Joe Burrow at a good price, but are we going to be the team that takes him unstacked? I don't think so. Not today. There's some thin running back depth. But Rome is actually really, really tempting. I don't get that thing in order. So we don't take Rome. Instead, we go Pollard. But that feels like a good acquisition. At first, I was almost like, let's go Pacheco for the sake of the Rashee Mahomes correlation. You know, another Chief on this team. But then I remembered Pollard and the Tajay situation, and I do rank Pollard above Isaiah Pacheco. But the team after me now has 2 quarterbacks, only 1 running back. And then the team at the turn just takes Pacheco. They only had Jacobs. So I was worried that giving both of them multiple picks, I wouldn't get a good running back coming back around. And even though I have Bucky and Travion Henderson, in general, I want to have running backs I rely on. I want to have good running backs this year. And now we have like a lot more clarity on Pollard. Pollard has like James Conner upside. I don't think Pollard is like still being taken at the right price where I took him. Dang. Receiver really dried up though. Shit. I'm taking Jaden Higgins because I'm a full believer. Damn. There were more receivers than I thought that went off there. I probably should have taken Rome or Matthew Golden with that last pick. The falling price on Rome was probably the direction I should have gone in. Had CMC last year. That's rough. Damn. That's not easy to come back from. But the Hendy pick is feeling better and better. I'm so happy I took so much Henderson in the 6th round. Like, Henderson was one of my most coveted picks in the 6th round. I should check my exposure. He might be my, like, top drafted player now. Quincy asking, for the team at 12, do you think I should stack Puka with Garoppolo? I don't think it's worth it. I think for the higher range of outcomes, still go with Stafford. Especially in the fantasy playoffs, I think the only way Puka works out is if Stafford's healthy. Jimmy G, I would not draft. Quincy says the Hurts team gets Burrow. That's even worse. Yeah, it's not the end of the world. And they take Burrow unstacked as well. But they start off with Gibbs and Bowers. They have Tyreek, DK Metcalf, and Judy. With the Gibbs Bowers start, I wouldn't write them off. They can still make, chicken salad out of chicken shit. But the Burrow selection was, I don't think, the right direction there for Team 4. But who knows? Maybe it works out. Just to take him unstacked. Yikes. Quincy says he was sniped on Mahomes. You have the Xavier Worthy team at 12. Albie from day one has been taking Henderson as well. 30%. Gotta feel good. But on the clock in the next pick, Mixon is here. We're not going to go with Mixon again. It did feel very risky. Baker goes. Damn. Oh, I wanted Baker. We got Bucky and Mike Evans on this team. Like, this is obviously a Baker team. Instead, I'll go with TJ Hawkinson. Let's get a good tight end. But one thing worth noting, the team at 1 is the team with Pickens. Otherwise, nobody on this side of the board, the right side of the board, after my next pick, has a stacking option with Dak, which means it's definitely possible that Dak falls to me at 116. So the question is, do I stack up Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb here at 101 if the team at pick 101 passes? If the Pickens team passes on Prescott, am I taking Dak in the 9th or hoping to push him for the 10th? I think I'm going to push for the 10th. Because if you take an unstacked Dak Prescott, I don't think you're making the right call. Did not get Baker. That's unfortunate. Keon off the board. Oh, shit. Yo, this is why you shouldn't be smoking. I totally thought the team ahead of me was on the clock, not me. So we take Kyler fucking unstacked. Whatever. At least he can run the ball, but damn. Holy air ball. That was bad. This is why I shouldn't do a third draft. But I'm very underweight Kyler, so at least we're mixing him in. On a team with Rashee Rice. Yeah, this is not a team I normally draft. But Quincy says everyone in this draft is grabbing unstacked QBs. That is a good point. Like the team that took Mahomes took him unstacked. The team that took Baker took him unstacked. We got Burrow and Hurts unstacked. Lamar is stacked up. But otherwise, only Jaden Daniels is stacked up. Bo Nix unstacked. The team with Caleb has both Rome and DJ Moore. That's not bad. But at least Kyler works for the team. I did not have a quarterback at this point, so uh, it is what it is. Albie has 29.9% Henderson to be exact in close to 300 drafts. That's pretty nice. So Dobbins, Cup, Tyler Warren, Colson Loveland, Brock Purdy, Zach Charbonnet, Rashid Shaheed, Tucker Kraft, Dak Prescott goes unstacked. We're not getting Dak on this team. But that team doesn't have a quarterback, so I guess it makes some sense. But, like, you have Brees Hall. I don't really understand taking Dak above Justin Fields when you don't have a Cowboy. That team, Schultz 2104, sniping me. Unfortunate. But Njoku off the board, I can still take Drake May. And we've mentioned that Drake May is like just the cheaper version of Kyler Murray with actually more upside. Love Drake May. We also have Travion Henderson, so it does work as a correlating pick. Albie may have to go all in on the Ravens here. Albie has Nico, Chase Brown, Lamar, James Cook, Zay Flowers, Egbuka, Aaron Jones, Mark Andrews, Tyler Warren, Brandon Ayuk. Does pass on Bateman, but pretty good team. Love the Flowers Lamar correlation. Also the Andrews pick. You did take Andrews well above ADP though. But I agree, Quincy. I do like Albie's team. But Ayuk as the fourth receiver is a bit of a gamble. I can't say the wide receivers you had to choose from were that appealing, though. Like, I might have felt forced to take Darnell Mooney instead of Andrews if it was my team. But not going to let the timer expire on this pick. Let's pay attention. Scattaboo goes. I will take Luther Burden. I need a fifth receiver. With Rashee Rice, I got to get some extra points. Let's go Luther Burden. Happy to see that the Caleb Williams team took Marvin Mims instead of Luther Burden. That does not feel like the right pick at all. Luther Burden getting some good camp hype. Meanwhile, Mims in a very big rotation for the number 2 receiver in Denver. Maybe he wins out. Maybe he's a big deep threat like last year at the end of the season. But all in all, I think Mims is a very bad pick at 123. Almost went Burden at 116, to be honest. Really happy I got him in the 11th round. There was a miniature run on quarterback. J.J. McCarthy goes, Justin Herbert, Jared Goff, Jordan Love. But the only stacking option there would have been McCarthy. And with Kyler and Drake May, I don't feel like desperate to take J.J. McCarthy. So here's the team so far. We have CeeDee Lamb, Bucky Irving, Mike Evans, Travion Henderson, Rashee Rice, Tony Pollard, Jaden Higgins, T.J. Hawkinson, Kyler Murray, Drake May, and Luther Burden. Can't say the Kyler pick was my favorite. Like, I wish I just took Dak Prescott instead. But I was caught sleeping. And to pair him with Drake May, we got some rushing upside. At least there's that. Yeah, Albie, I don't know if Stroud was the right pick there. But I think what may burn you is the double tap at tight end in rounds 8 and 9. High price tags at tight end with a fragile receiver room. But you can still draft 9 of them overall. You could still figure it out. Every other position is pretty loaded. Chase Brown, James Cook, Aaron Jones. That's pretty nice. But you got Trey Benson, so ignoring receiver once again. Javonte off the board. Happy to see that. I'm not in the market for Javonte anymore. But with my running back core, I don't think I'm going to take one here. Instead, I think I'm going to take Dallas Goedert and just feel more confident about my tight end room. TJ Hawkinson, Dallas Goedert feels like a very competitive combination. Some very high upside and pretty decent floor from both of them. We also sniped that team with Jalen Hurts on getting an Eagles stack, so not planned, but as I realize it, not bad. Kind of a perk of taking Goddard there. Did you take Bigsby, Quincy? I thought you were at the 12 spot. Bigsby goes to the team at 7 in this draft. Well above ADP in the 10th round. Wow. Bigsby flying up the board here. I think I'm going to go with Cedric Tillman. If not, the pick would be like Braylon Allen. And I think he just got taken. Yeah. So I will take Cedric Tillman. Get back in at receiver with one of our high upside swings. One of our boys. Who, let's face it, if Shador continues to look pretty decent, I thought he looked not bad in the preseason game. Granted, it's still the preseason. But Tillman sat out. Tillman's like locked into the number 2 receiver. Tillman would benefit if Shador can actually play. But in general, this is the only like Cleveland Brown I really feel optimistic about taking. Even Dylan Sampson, like, is probably valuable, but doesn't inspire a lot of confidence. But I think the team is turning out pretty well. Demario Douglas did go off at 145, so I did not have him as a stacking option with Drake May. Usually that's who I like to stack with Drake May, Demario. Albie, a sadist, apparently. Quincy asking, what's up with Christian Kirk? He just fell to me a bit past ADP. The thing about Christian Kirk is, like, it feels inevitable that he loses his job. And the reason why I never take him is because I'm, like, fully confident in Jaden Higgins. I've completely drank the Kool-Aid on Jaden Higgins. So if I'm wrong about Jaden Higgins, then Kirk is going to be a decent pick. However, last year we saw very clear evidence that CJ Stroud cannot support 3 different receivers in the offense. And Tank Dell was the clear third option. I think Christian Kirk is going to be the clear third option, and he's not going to be a valuable piece week to week. I also think he could lose his job to Jalen Noel as the weeks go by. Jalen Noel, I think, is a big threat for Christian Kirk. So, in general, I'm not dying to take Christian Kirk, but I can see a lot of outs where, especially if I'm wrong about Jaden Higgins, which I could easily be wrong about Jaden Higgins, then Kirk isn't going to be a terrible pick. But in general, I'm not dying to draft him. I'm worried he loses his job and that he's also kind of older and gets hurt, and that just in the first place, wide receiver 3 in Houston is not that valuable. I am back on the clock, and we need receiver. I mentioned Quentin Johnston, I think in round, 14 is fine. I've ignored running back for a long time. but I think I can continue to fade it. With Bucky Irving, Travion Henderson, Tony Pollard, I only need 5, and these last 2 don't need to be like that important. Anyways, let's show you the board. And maybe we scroll up. Quincy has 30% Bigsby. Wow. Albie likes the Tillman value. Have to say I agree. 910 is asking if Fields is off the board. Yeah, Fields went at pick 112. There you go. But Rashad White off the board at 168. I've got 3 running backs so far. It's pick 173. Do I just take Judkins? Like, when is enough enough? This team just took Will Shipley above Quinchon Judkins. Jalen Wright above Quinchon Judkins. Ah, fuck. Quincy says no, never Judkins. Okay, Quincy, I'll listen to you. Let's go JCM. Our boy, Jacory. Thank you for the advice. 3 rounds left. 1 more running back is going to be needed. So far, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wide receivers. I have 2 quarterbacks that I think I could maybe stop with, Kyler and Drake May. And then I have 2 tight ends I could also potentially stop with as well, with TJ Hockenson and Dallas Goedert. Quincy saying, I think I may have ruined a bit too many really good drafts getting Judkins. Yeah, it's probably just wise to completely take him off the board until we get some news. Like, maybe it works out, maybe it's still not worth it. But at this late, like, I understand taking, like, Albie takes him here. But what are you really going to get from Nick Chubb this season? Probably not much. Shipley could easily be a 0. So could Jalen Wright, Keaton Mitchell. Like, you might get 0s from all these guys. As high as I am on JCM, you could also get a 0 from Jacory. But Dirty P saying feeling like an Ollie Gordon team. Probably not, I'll be honest with you. I'm full fade on the Dolphins, bro. If it's not A-Chain, I don't think I want him. Who do you think is the main quarterback in the Saints? I thought it was going to be Tyler Shuck pretty easily. Now it doesn't seem that way. But Dirty P saying Kyle Monungai getting praise. Yeah, Monungai is kind of interesting. Looks like the Sun likes Monungai. Roshan just comes off the board at 182. Question is DeAndre Swift going to be impacted by Monungai at all? That's what I'm really hoping we can avoid. I have a lot of DeAndre Swift. I kind of want to take Anthony Richardson. Elijah Arroyo off the board. You know what? Let's go Kyle Monungai. Let's do it. We got Bucky Irving, Travion Henderson, and Tony Pollard. We don't need these late round running backs to hit. We're just purely chasing upside, and it's worth mixing him in as we get a bit closer to the season. Monungai has a faster 10-yard shuttle than Swift. That's pretty good. The 10-yard apparently is like more valuable than the 40-yard time. Like, the 40-yard is very relevant. However, a lot of the time you don't A lot of the time you get tackled before you have the opportunity to reach that 40-yard dash speed. So if you can be really quick, close to the line of scrimmage, have a lot of burst, then you have a much more likely chance of evading tacklers and actually tapping into that 40-yard speed. So fast 10-yard time, not bad. But now I can also just say I'm done at running back. I think with Kyler, I'd like another quarterback, but Richardson does get taken. We're not going to draft Aaron Rodgers if we don't have to. I need another wide receiver. What's the deal with Amari Cooper? Is Amari Cooper going to play this year? Still have no fucking clue. I think I'll save the third tight end consideration for my last pick. So here, Quincy says Cooper to the Falcons. Is that official? You know what, Quincy? I'm not gonna bite, but I almost went with Amari Cooper there. Nah, he's not. I'm just spitballing. That would be a pretty interesting landing spot if Mooney's out. 910 says I doubt Amari Cooper plays at all. If he gets signed, even if he gets signed, he looked horrible with the Bills. That is fair. He didn't look horrible before he got traded, though, when he was on the Browns last year. He still had like a couple somewhat decent games. But yeah, it feels foolish. But it's the same potential as Keenan. Like if he does sign, if it's a good spot, we might be taking him around like Romeo Dobbs a week from now. But maybe not. Maybe don't do it until he actually signs. But Demetrios saying 10-team full PPR, 3 flex. Need to pick a keeper from last year. Do I keep Brock Bowers in the 8th or Chase Brown in the 13th? Full PPR, 10-team league. Ooh. As much as I would like to go Chase Brown, I think the idea of keeping Brock Bowers year over year in the 8th, I think is going to hold more value. So if you want to go Chase Brown, I wouldn't fault you, but I think personally, I view Brock Bowers as more of a keeper. And in a 10-team format, I do kind of care about like who's the tight end one just a little bit more. The running back depth isn't as shaky. And I think you could still probably acquire Chase Brown in like the second round. Whereas Bowers is going to be harder to acquire. I would keep Bowers. I think I'd rather keep Bowers, but it's very close. Very close decision. I would trust your gut. If your gut is like screaming Chase Brown because all of the other running backs have been kept and it's really hard to acquire a top 10 guy, then go ahead and stick with your gut. But I think personally I'd rather have Brock Bowers as the keeper. I take Aaron Rodgers here just because I don't feel that confident in Kyler Murray. If I had Dak Prescott, I don't think I would have taken a quarterback there. But I have Kyler Murray, not a pick I wanted to make. And with Drake May, there is some risk that we get some bad games out of these quarterbacks. Anyways, let's just take a look at some other teams that we're drafting in here with us. Team 12, Severe Jury, goes Puka, A-Chain, Tet, Worthy, RJ Harvey, Ricky Pearsall, Mason, Bo Nix, Shaheed, Kraft, Bryce Young, Christian Kirk, Brenton Strange, Tootin, Keaton Mitchell, Stafford, Coker, and Woody Marks. I hope Stafford stays healthy because that quarterback room is a little shaky, but with Bo Nix, it's probably fine. And then Albie in here with us says he took Nico, Chase Brown, Lamar, James Cook, Flowers, Egbuka. We mentioned this team was thin at receiver but loaded everywhere else. So how did receiver shake out? Went Kyle Williams, Alec Pierce, Judkins, DeAndre Hopkins, and Tesla, and then Dalton Schultz as the third tight end. I don't know if I would have taken Schultz there, but I get it with Stroud. Not a bad team, man. Loaded at the top. Albie's team is pretty interesting. I hope Ayuk works out for you. Same with Kyle Williams and Alec Pierce. But if receiver can piece it together, I think you probably advance. That's a pretty good team. KS Cash was also in here at pick 2. Bijan, T. Higgins, Trey McBride, Ken Walker, Chuba Hubbard. And then hammered receiver with Golden, Addison, Godwin, Mooney, Herbert, and Keenan. That's a pretty good combo. Michael Penix, Trey Harris, Sam Darnold, Torrey Horton, and then Jatavion, Sean Tucker, Kareem Hunt. Interesting Sean Tucker gamble. Not bad. I don't hate it. KS Cash has a pretty good team. Mine is okay. I think mine's fine. We got great running backs. We got good high-end receivers. But then quarterback's a little shaky. Good tight end room, though. I like my team. I think I'm okay. Okay, so that's going to conclude today's live stream. I'll answer some final questions before I sign off. But if you made it this far, if you enjoyed the video, please subscribe, hit that like button on the way out before you say goodbye. And I'll just see if there's any pertinent questions to answer before I go. 910 asks, in a 3-flex league, I would 100% keep Chase Brown. That's your preference. Actually, I like the idea of keeping Bowers year after year. Yeah, that's my only thought of, like, am I more likely to keep Bowers the year after as well, or Chase Brown? I'm probably going to try and hold on to the tight end one, Bowers, for a few years. But Quincy says my team is mid. I didn't think it was terrible, but at the 12 slot, it's always tough. Dirty P saying late round wide receiver, I'm starting to click some Troy Franklin. That is an interesting click as well. I agree. There's been some buzz, and he does have some chemistry with Bo Nix from college. So, yeah, Troy Franklin is very interesting. Demetria says, thanks. It's something I've been pondering for weeks. I feel Bowers is better long-term, but Chase Brown is better value in the 13th this year. Yeah, that's totally how I feel about it, too. I think I'd go Bowers still, but if you want to Chase Brown because it's later, be my guest. Not a bad decision at all. Albie says, this time slot is perfect for me. So much appreciated. No problem, man. I like to mix it up sometimes, get some different time windows for people who want to draft with us. And Cobra says, Tootin is crushing the poll. Yeah, let's take a look at the poll. And you guys are still on board with Tootin over Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. That makes a lot more sense. Tootin was a 4th-round pick. JCM, a 7th-rounder. But I don't think it's unreasonable to think that JCM has an easier path to actually get touches in Washington. I don't think it's impossible that JCM is more valuable. But 12 votes, 75% in favor of Bashal Tootin. The consensus is pretty obvious. Y'all prefer Bashal Tootin. But 910 says there are so many wide receivers on the Broncos that I'm avoiding. All of them besides Pat Bryant. He's my only guy I like there. I'm still a believer in Sutton. But I think Ingram and RJ Harvey, plus like the addition of Pat Bryant and the emergence of Troy Franklin, if I'm not getting the elite options, I don't really want the ancillary pieces. Give me Cortland Sutton, give me Evan Ingram, give me RJ Harvey, and then I will draft J.K. Dobbins, but he's just a bench stash. Bo Nix, though, I think is going to be a top 10 quarterback. Pretty much locked in. Bo Nix, I think, is top 10. Bo Nix can be very good. Anyways, that's it for me. Hope y'all enjoyed the rest of your Tuesday. I'll see you guys probably tomorrow, and I'll be updating my wide receiver rankings in the next 2 days. I might finish editing that tonight. If not, I'll finish editing that tomorrow, and it will be posted either Wednesday or Thursday. Keep an eye out for the updated wide receiver rankings. All right, peace out. Good night. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.